Hi everybody, we have a nice lineup for you here in the second main section of our course. We're going to focus on a big topic, the ethics of eating animals, for reasons I'll explain in the next video. Here I just want to give you a sense of the arc of this section as a whole. We start with a little intro by me, and then we look at an article by cookbook author and New York Times columnist Mark Bittman on the animal agriculture sector of the industrial food system. This is the sector that he calls, memorably enough, the meat guzzler. We had a chance to bring Mark Bittman to class and ask him some questions about his work and engage him in a discussion during our on-campus course regarding why he wrote a book that advises us to be vegan before 6. So we'll ask him about that. We also had our students break up into 6 different groups and cook for him in the hotel school's demo kitchen here at Cornell, using only ingredients that were sourced from 25 miles around Ithaca. That was in March, so as you can imagine, there was a decent amount of meat, turnips, kale, salt, and other root vegetables. Because it was before 6 when we did this, Bittman, given the name of his book, didn't really want to try eating it all, though he did break the rule for the sake of one student's extra special dessert. You'll get a decent sense of Bittman's personality in the clip from our class below. He started off as a taxi driver in New Haven, he told us, but he always cared about food, and one day he walked into the offices of a local newspaper and started complaining about their restaurant critic. He offered to write them something that was better, they agreed, he sent it in, and the rest is history. Now he works for the New York Times. After that, we'll go into what you might call the spin zone and take a look at how different stakeholders in the debate about meat try to depict the methods of industrial animal agriculture. It goes down even to the level of language. Do we call it a gestation crate or do we call it a maternity pen? We'll juxtapose some of these videos for you and then let you decide. We'll also show a clip from The Daily Show in which host Jon Stewart displays some of his characteristic incredulity over the way in which the industry treats sows and putting them in these gestation crates. Moving from Jon Stewart to Jon Stewart Mill. You knew I was going to have to take advantage of that. We then start to develop one of our main ethical frameworks in the course, namely utilitarianism. Will and Adam will take us through the theory and through some of its weak points and strong points, and then ask you to discuss whether you feel the intuitive pull of this way of thinking about ethics, the pleasure-pain calculus. From there we go back to our case study, this time not just animal agriculture but focusing more directly on question raised by beef and beef production. We'll again try to teach the conflicts and questions here, looking at work by industry critics and proponents, other participants, as well as advocates of a kind of alternative animal agriculture, maybe a more Ithaca response kind of thing. The most significant alternative proponent, perhaps, is Alan Savory. His TED Talk in favor of a new holistic sort of grassland and grazing management is something we'll take a look at. He actually thinks we can reverse desertification and help with climate change by using cattle production. We'll watch the talk and then take a look at a critique of it by James McWilliams, a history professor in Texas. We'll also interview McWilliams by Skype and get some further clarifications. After this, we move away from beef and onwards to the future. We look at some utopian suggestions for new ways of protein acquisition. Can in vitro meat, for instance, or cloned lobotomized animals save the day? Is insect meat a viable alternative to both tofu and chicken? By the way, we tasted it, and it does, of course, taste like chicken. Also, should a utilitarian or any sort of ethicist at all want to phase out carnivores in nature altogether if we could? We'll ask Oxford professor Jeff McMahon that question and see his interesting response. We'll also then get a critique of McMahon from wildlife and reproduction expert here at Cornell's vet school. Towards the end of this section, I'll give some lectures developing our second and third main frameworks, a form of non-consequentialism that arises from the work of 18th century Prussian philosopher, one of my favorite philosophers, Immanuel Kant. That's the second main framework. And then a much more ancient theory of ethics, theory of rightness and wrongness that comes out of religious practice, religious tradition. Philosophers typically call it divine command theory. We'll take a look at that theory in its various forms, and also one of the main objections to it that you can already find as early as Plato. It's the Euthyphro objection. After that, we'll let you take your pick from a few different videos and texts which feature people talking about the ways in which religious thought might interact with ethics, though not always in a divine command way. So they're not all divine command theorists, but they're all talking about religion and, of course, about our main topic here in this section of the course, namely the ethics of eating animals.